Okay, I think the expectations are quite high. But before starting, I wanted to tell you a little personal story. So it was 2012, and I was living and working in France. And after being 2 years there, I decided to come back to Spain. It was a long move, so we needed to drive for a long time and pack out my car with everything that I had there. And the idea was, we were leaving France on a Friday, and I had to start working on a Monday. Okay, so it was a really stressful move. And that's how I dream. Driving for the whole day and then arriving to Madrid when the sun was setting, beautiful scenery and so on. But usually plans don't go as you expect, and this is true. 50 kilometers after we started driving, the car broke. We had some lightning about the engine was heat, so I tried to cool down the car, check everything, but it was not possible to fix. So I had to call the insurance, and after some back and forth with them, we had to change our plans. So in the end, our plan Z was, okay, my wife and I were going to fly from Marseille to Madrid. So we had to make a new carry-on luggage with the emergency kit. And our car was going to do a little detour. As they couldn't fix it in France, they sent it back to Vigo. That's my hometown where I live, in the northwest of Spain. There, we found a repair shop that could fix the car. And then a couple of weeks later, I went there, I took the car, and finally it went to Madrid. So the result, or how the car got to Spain, was a little bit different. The car had the nice scenery views of Vigo. Okay, I wanted to tell you this because in the end, promoting content, going live, and having to migrate the content is kind of a move. And thanks that I was able to adapt, or we were able to adapt our plans to the situation, we were able to, maybe not the ideal promotion, but we were able to successfully go live as I could start the work on a Monday. And the Liferay tools that we provide for you to do the move are kind of challenging. So the current moving company, as we said, has some challenges. First one, there has cryptic, hidden logic. You are not sure what we are moving, what it's inside the LAR, what not, and so on. Then you have some cryptic errors, and you have to figure out what's going on. You fix it, then you try to import again, another error comes up. So in the end, it's an endless trial and error in order to, in the end, be able to import everything. So as Alex said before, we've been working a lot during this year to make a revamp. So we are presenting you today our new moving company, Liferay Movers. Maybe it's too futuristic, the image, but I think it's how Carlos and I see ourselves doing the work. And for this, we took a new approach. We are leveraging all the work that we've been doing over the years on the APIs and on the batch engine. So we are adding it to the LAR file. It's a hybrid LAR file, so it works both with old staging files, plus with JSONs coming from the batch engine. And not only we use the time to keep or enhance the existing functionality, but we also evolve it to support also instance-level entities. Okay? The idea or the pillar that we used for this seamless transition was first to do a gradual migration. We didn't want to wait for all the entities to be batch compatible before you to be able to start using this. So that's why we have a hybrid LAR, where you have files from the old entities and the migrated ones. The second pillar is the coexistence. We didn't want to provide you with different tools, so you had to decide whether to use one or the other depending on the entity. So it will be the same export-import UI that you are using. And under the hood, we will do all the magic. And the last one was not to be feature parity with what we have, but also have more capabilities enhanced, leveraging the batch engine. So what are the entities that we've migrated? We'll be using all the power of the batch engine. First, the page entities, so master pages, display page templates, the pages itself, navigation menus, and so on. Then the content management entities like vocabularies, categories, and tags. And we added new ones. At instance level, for example, we have roles, organizations, accounts, account groups, and what you've been asking for a long time that are about objects. So both object definitions, object entries, no matter if the scope is instance or site level, and also pick lists. And now, Carlos will tell you a little bit about enhancements.
So thank you, Pablo, for this amazing story of your move. So we are gonna go through the capabilities we have added to the export-import framework just to make this happen. The idea is to simplify as much as possible the export and import processes, also to provide the user a way to fix what we call partial imports, and to add the capability of fault tolerance to the framework. So in order to reach that, first of all, we are using the external reference code for keeping integrity among environments. So with the previous approach, we were mainly using internal IDs in order to identify which elements were being exported and then imported to a new environment. The problem with those internal IDs were they were different between environments. So sometimes it's very complex to identify when something happens in the target environment, what was the item that were corresponding in the source environment. So for that, we think the best idea is to use the external reference code. And then with that, we also avoid possible issues by managing that complex mapping table of IDs between environments. We are also adding a new dependency management system. So we think that different relationships, or there are different types of relationships between elements. Not all of them must make the item fail to import. So for that, we think that all those types of different relationships must be managed in a proper way. We will see this topic in detail in the following up slides. It's also, we added management of nested fields when we are exporting related information. When we are exporting information, it's possible to relate, along with the item that we are exporting, also some information like permissions, comments, or other related elements. And from now on, we are using the OData standard for filtering what we want to export. So, for example, if we want to export the last or the elements that were modified since yesterday, we are going to use the OData standard for filtering what to export. So, which are those type of references that I was talking about? So, we think there are three main types of reference. The first one is the lazy reference. Alex already talked about this during the first talk. The idea is if a missing element, if a missing referenced element, or if the reference element is missing in the target environment, Liferay is going to create an empty shell. So we are going to create a dummy element just with the minimum information that is just with the external reference code. So we will leave a dummy element just to be able to keep processing and keep importing the rest of the data. We will see this lazy referencing management system in the next slide. Be patient. Another type is the optional reference. This is pretty similar, but not exactly the same, because in this optional reference, if the referenced element is missing, we are not creating the empty shell. So the reference is just kept into the system, and it will be only used if the reference element is imported or created afterwards. If not, the reference will be just kept, and the imported item will be successfully imported. And mandatory references. These are the strictest one. So the reference element must exist if we want the item to be imported successfully. If the item doesn't exist, the referenced item doesn't exist, the import of this element will fail. One example could be if we want to import object entries to a different environment, but the object definition doesn't exist in that environment. So there is no way to know which fields the object entry contains, which are mandatory, which are not. So in that case, the object entries, the import process of the object entries fails and keep importing the rest of the data. For the lazy and optional reference, the import order is not relevant, because during the import process, we are able to manage all those items, or if we create a dummy element, we are able to update the dummy element with the final data. But for the mandatory references, the order matters. So we need to have the object definition available in the environment before the object entries. So this is how we are dealing with the lazy referencing issue. So when the lazy referenced element is missing, first of all, what we do is we create what we call empty shell. So we create a dummy element with just the external reference code, like a skeleton of the element. And we keep that reference with the item that was requiring the existence of this item. So once we create the item, we set up a new status called empty status. So by that, we know which are the dummy elements of our environment. Then the import process continues with the following up items to be processed. These empty shells, it's important to know that this empty shell can be manually edited after the import process finishes. So as users, we are able to update the data of that skeleton with the data we want. We can do it by importing again the right data, or just by doing it manually.
Okay, so apart from the tools that we have in the batch engine, we wanted to provide you with more information and tools to know exactly what happened during the import process. This is the summary view that Alex showed before. Then not only a summary, but we will have a list with all the errors or warnings that happened during the import process. You will be able to filter, sort, and search this list. So, for example, you can focus first on fixing the issues related to roles, then move on to categories and so on. And you can even export this list in CSV, so you can manage it outside in Excel, for example. And then for each error, you will have a full detailed information, type of item, ID, external reference code, and even you will have access to the stack trace if you want to go low-level debugging. Okay?
Yes. So what is behind all of this? So behind this, we are using the batch engine framework. So how many of you know about the batch engine framework? Okay. So as you may know, we use REST Builder to auto-generate the code to support our REST API in batch engine. So the idea is, having a REST API, we set up the REST Builder configuration files to auto-generate the code necessary to integrate our API with batch engine. In this case, the export-import framework will use just a subset of those operations. So once we have our API included in the, or supported by the batch engine, we need to implement manually this beautiful named Java interface. So by implementing this, we are creating a bridge between the export-import framework and the batch engine just to inform the export-import, hey, my batch engine entity is available to be exported and imported using the framework. So for the case of the export-import framework, as I mentioned, we are just using a subset of those operations. For export processes, we are invoking the read operation of the batch engine. So in the end, that read operation is calling the get endpoint of our API that returns a page of elements. And for the import process, we are calling these two operations. Create in order to upsert our items. So we will call the put by external reference code endpoint. So just a reminder, the put by external reference code endpoint, if the element doesn't exist by the external reference code, then it will create the item, and if it exists, it will update it. And we will call the delete method in order to apply the deletions we want to move from one environment to another one. And yeah, just a reminder, all the metadata needed for, to tune our process, like the scope, nested fields, etc., is sent as a parameters in the operation we are calling. So I think it's time for a demo. Let's see if it works. Okay, so let's have a look at this. Well, this is the Pablo's maison. So he wanted to move all his belongings. So I'm going to explain a little bit what we created just to see what we want to export. So there are two object definitions. One is furniture. So he wanted to move some pieces of furniture and items. So there is a relationship between furniture and items. So it's a one-to-many relationship. So one item could be stored inside the furniture or not. So Pablo wants to move all his belongings. So a lot of pieces of furniture. And yeah, some items. So including a Lego collection. Okay. Then, yeah, we can export. So I'm going to export everything. So the pages we were seeing, and also all the items and furniture. And I'm going to get rid of this. This is the utility page. Yeah, we don't need this. Okay, so I'm downloading the. So I'm going to create a new site. La Casa de Pablo, en Madrid. So we're going to move everything, but I'm going to forget to select the furniture. So by importing this data, we can access the details of the import, and we're going to see here all the errors that happened during the process. So in this case, we see 4 empty errors. So we have created 4 empty shells. So these furniture are lazy referenced by the items that I was moving. So we can see here that the status of the error is not resolved, and here we can see, well, a little bit more of the information of the element that we were importing. In this case, the external reference code and the site where this is happening. So if I go, let's have a look at the furniture object entries. Yeah, I see here this is an empty shell. It's just the skeleton of the piece of furniture without any information like the name or image or whatever. So if we open this, the pages, yeah, we can see here this empty furniture, but the items have been imported successfully. So we can just update this furniture, for example, wardrobe, because Pablo needs to go to, he starts working on next Monday, and he needs a place like, okay, temporary wardrobe. And I'm gonna select here, yes. Sorry, Pablo.
It is what it is.
So this object entry has been updated, and then if we go again to the page, yeah, we see that we have already an approved object entry with that information. How can we solve this? Just by updating this information by the user, or in my case, I'm gonna perform another import with just the furniture. So here we have.
Okay.
So Pablo,
Nice
you're ready to start on Monday.
Yeah, perfect. Please go back to the presentation. My car was not that big. I couldn't fit all the furniture and everything, but my Lego collection, yes. So what's coming next? This is the first phase, what Carlos demo, but we have more plans for 2026. The first one is to not only change the engine of the export-import process, but also the body, the look and feel. The idea is to modernize it, to use the new components that you've seen in the CMS or in other parts of the product that we've developed lately. The second one, or the goal that we have, is to have a unified UI that will work for export-import, no matter if it's at instance level, site, asset library, or space. And we are taking the chance to reorganize the information for clarity. So instead of having a full page with everything, we will have kind of a wizard-like approach. So in the first step, you will select which sections you want to export from, like design, content and data, and so on. Then the second step will be about selecting from those sections which entities you want to export, apply a filter, and so on. And the third one is about the settings, whether you want to export also the permissions, deletions, and so on. We want to expand the entities that will be supported by batch and use everything that we showed. The first one, fragments. We will add also commerce entities, instance settings, site settings, and so on. You name it, okay? And then we want to help you fix the errors during the import process. Carlos showed you two ways that we are releasing first, that are the manual fix, or even doing another import that will fix the issues. But the idea is, instead of having to guess what to fix and so on, is be able to download a JSON that will have the identifiers of exactly the entities that you need to import in order to fix the import. Once you have this list, you will see that at export time, you will have a new operation that is unresolved items. In this case, thanks to the JSON that will have the list, you will export only the needed information, whether it's at instance level, at site level, and so on. Okay? And with this, you will be able to really fast solve an import process. Okay, so to sum up, as I have 45 seconds, all that we've done, we are using the batch engine for a smooth transition. We are applying a new paradigm for reference management. Then with the import process and the reports, we want to increase the visibility of what's happened during the import process. And then thanks to the empty shell and other tools, we want to give you more autonomy to solve the issues and adapt your plans if they don't go smooth. Thank you very much. And yeah, you can rely on us for your next move. Thank you very much.